Hello again. Excited to continue with you talking about this particular aspect of psychometric science. So, tribal nucleus. At a tribe or subculture's nucleus is its DNA, its core values which create a hierarchy and a territorial structure. You cannot enter the nucleus unless you have one of two things. One is you exemplify the cultural DNA, or you have the cultural ammunition to destroy it. Cultures do not respond well to change. They're not malleable things. They can be destroyed and rebuilt using its old parts. But just as Rome was built on pieces of Greece, it's not a new Greece. Nuclei reject foreign DNA. The layers of a hierarchy are a metric of how fearful its hierarchy is of losing control. So the larger the hierarchy, the greater the fear. Tribes, cultures have rigid roles, and that is so that they can protect that DNA. Its alphas must exemplify and reinforce its DNA. That is, they are examples of it, and they are constantly modeling it, and to some extent constantly correcting others about it. They're using a certain set of language, certain set of modeling, certain set of appearance things. Its betas must react well to having someone or several someones constantly reinforcing that cultural DNA. They may be people that bend and break rules, but they are reassured when they are caught and corrected that there is a safety net, and that safety net is those alphas correcting them when they get crazy. All trespassers, invaders, and visitors, visitors, and traitors are omegas unless they are reclassified. That is, if you do not clearly exist as part of their social structure, you will be at its lowest possible place. Sigmas exist differently in these tribal structures, and I will explain that as I explain to you doors. These are, you would use the word metaphorical, but I don't think metaphorical is true. I think that there are true things that exist whether we see them or not, that are either visible through intuition or visible spiritually. And I think this is something that is real and measurable, whether or not you can see it with sensor kind of traits. So I think that cultures or tribes have psychometric doors. That is the entry points by which someone can enter a culture. That is, you have a family and you have a house. Just because you've entered the house doesn't mean you've entered the family. You can be physically in the house and not really a member of the family. You have to be invited. You have to be adopted or marry someone or be a very good family friend who they say you're family now. So that's the kind of door I'm talking about, whatever term you would use. And I mean it uh, in an intuitive sense. I don't mean it necessarily in a metaphorical sense. So the front door, conceptually, psychometrically, is the beta door. In that, you enter the room, you participate as a beta. You participate trying to be their low-ranking full participant. Now, once again, that person that came in off the street, Omega, and that Omega person is hypothetically trying to become a beta, but there are people that remain Omega for a long, long time, and I'll get to that in a second as we discuss these doors. But there is a beta door that any person who shows that they can intuit and follow the rules and respond well to alpha correction, is part of the beta culture, has the rules, has the rights and privileges and responsibilities that go with being low-ranking full participant of the hierarchy. Now, there is no alpha door precisely, because one has to demonstrate that they have embodied the values of the cultural DNA. I believe that the alpha door is a transfer. The alpha door is, here is someone who came, now once again, you are describing a church, you are describing a business, you're describing something that has an international or multi-regional quality, so that someone who has been already pre-qualified by the culture, by the tribe, as a person who exemplifies, an exemplar of the cultural DNA, has already been predetermined to be that thing. They enter, not through the front door so much, but through sort of a transfer door, like the transfer of a regional manager or the bringing in of a church leader from another place within your denomination. Or maybe a step parent, I don't know, whatever our best possible analogies are here. Sadly, if a person has no social status and no ability to kind of work within the beta parameters, can't learn to speak the culture, can't learn to act right according to the culture, they remain omega and do not have the rights or responsibilities that go with full participation, and so they come in through something analogous to a dog door. And those that are in the culture saying, yeah, we're being so nice to this person, we're being so kind and generous, letting that person be around here, and they don't feel any guilt when they mock that person when they're not around, you know, when they treat that person like a stray person, a stray animal. Every culture feels entirely justified in its treatment of its omegas, because they believe that person has chosen this. They think that anybody that cannot show up to your culture and at least do the beta level of conformity, they kind of deserve what they get. Is how true. This is one of the ways that culture will not turn a microscope on itself. Is that that person can't make it work, you know? You know, we're generous for letting them be around. We're generous in having cultural scraps. That person doesn't see the door from omega to beta. They don't see it. Now, there is no sigma door. Now, in a sense, all doors are sigma doors because all sigmas are capable of, at least in the short term, fulfilling various roles within social hierarchies. There are sigmas that function as pseudo-alphas, as pseudo-betas, and broken sigmas that function as sort of pseudo-omegas. But that is not who they are on the inside. The way that there are really two ways that a sigma enters a hierarchy and a culture at all. Now, I guess one's being born, so that's a third one. But I mean that the culture will almost inherently desire to reject them if it cannot place them in a metal die cast and crush them into an alpha or beta role. Alphas that are high in hierarchies have two specific advantages that relates very much to the role of sigmas in cultures. One is they have the capacity to execute certain plans that other people don't. And second, because of being elevated in this hierarchy, they have a vantage point having to do with the needs of that culture. And so they have the capacity to identify needs and possibly people that can help with those needs. And so what they will do is create, now I wouldn't say a door, because if it was a door, people could walk freely in and out of it. They will create a very limited entry, enabling a sigma to enter to help in a specific fashion. That help will come in a very constricted manner, that is, want you to know all the rules. We know you can't really follow all of them, but kind of here's 2 or 3 real huge ones that you mess with those rules, you're gone. And then a bunch of latitude about getting things done because they're so desirous to have things happen. But you will see in their relationship to alphas a strange combination of, we give you a lot of freedom to get things done because we respect your abilities and your perspective. And then on the side, simultaneously with that, a lot of sort of strange, contradictory, paradoxical control, which then alpha doesn't see as very strange because they have a constant awareness of how strange it is to have someone who is neither above them or below them. Because in their mind, everyone is either above them or below them, and it really continuously erodes their mind to have anybody present who they can't place into that hierarchy. And so they're kind of always trying to test what'll happen if I were to put this person under me. Well, you have this very strange conversation where you've tried to alpha to place a sigma under you in a hierarchy, and you wanted either they're going to fight me and assert dominance, or they're going to surrender to me and assert subordinates, and they didn't do either one. They left the room. They changed the subject. To use a wrestling term, they no soldier. You hit hard and they acted like you didn't touch them. But they will create these opportunities because of a need and an awareness that, well, they can't really admit that the hierarchy itself is insufficient for having a functional culture, that you can't really have a totally functional culture with all its needs met with just alphas and betas. They begrudgingly see that there are things that these people who are not within the hierarchy can provide. I want to give you some analogies. So it's not a door, it's like a window, it's like it's very, it's not the same thing as you would see in terms of, so I don't see the note right there, but here's the thing. I want you to think of movies where you have a king, you have knights, and the king has an advisor who isn't really subject to the military structure of the knights, isn't really subject to the social structure of the commoners, isn't really an enemy, isn't really a subordinate, um, is there at the behest of the king, and therefore is, doing the things the king asked him to do. Kind of comes and goes as their own agenda indicates, their own goals indicate. They don't seem to be motivated by all the same things as the alphas, the betas, the omegas. That's the Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. That's the trusted advisor. That's the specialist. That's the person who is not attempting to be either thing, and yet is there anyway, and is there because they're asked to be. Generally, there are not sigmas anywhere unless they have a reason to be there, and nowhere near rigid hierarchies unless there's a need for them to be there, having to do with something that the people in the hierarchy acknowledge a need for. Because otherwise there's no exchange rate to have between, why do we put up with this person not participating in a hierarchy? What do they give us to make it even make any sense? So those are 4 roles and 4 kinds of doors. Thank you.